What's good, YouTube? Sensational Sincere here, back with another Tom Clancy's The Division Vendor Reset video. Let's get right into it and see what we got good for this August 16th, 2019 reset. Okay, so for our first gear items, we're going to head over to Camp Hudson. In here, the gear vendor has a operator mask with the talent Tenacious on it. The gear score is 270. The armor is 919. This roll for stamina, 1157. And the attributes it has is skill power and burn resistance. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to the meat locker. And here the weapons vendor has a Vector 45 ACP. I think it's a straight little weapon for some PvE action, and if you don't have nothing better in the house, or if you just still love to run vectors, this particular one has a gear score of 276. It has 18.50% crit hit chance, and the talents it has is brutal, destructive, and sustained. And then also here we got an extended magazine with 114% magazine size, 4% crit hit damage, and 5.20% rate of fire. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to the base of operations. And here the Dark Zone gear vendor has a prototype firearms mod with 266 firearms and 3% skill haste. For our next gear items, we're still at the base of operations, and the gear vendor here in the front has a prototype electronics mod with 201 electronics and 3% damage to elites. I know people are looking out for these. We had some last week. We got some this week. These ones has the electronics though. And then also here we have a prototype stamina mod with 253 stamina and 3% skill haste. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to the advanced weaponry vendor. We're still at the base operations here. And we got an AUG A3 Para XS with a gear score of 278. It has 22.50% crit hit chance, and the talents it has is vicious, sustained, and talented. And then also here we got a black market SASG 12S for anybody doing those PvE missions with a 6-piece striker set. That's what I would use something like this for. This particular one has a gear score of 265. It has 288.50% stagger, and the talents it has is responsive, meticulous, and self-preserved. We also got an M700 carbon with a gear score of 282, and it has 165 headshot damage, and the talents it has is accurate, unforgiving, and elevated. And then also here we have a heavy magazine spring with 3% crit hit chance, 11% magazine size, and 10.10% rate of fire. And then also here we have a Tyrant suppressor with 7.50% crit hit chance, 5% optimal range, and 4% crit hit damage. For our next gear items, we're going to head to the special equipment vendor here. We're still at the base operations. And here we have a Cassidy with a gear score of 262. It has 288.50% stagger. And the talents it has is talented, competent, and then boomstick, the third talent. Also here we have a pecan for those PvE missions. If you like to run this, it has a gear score of 270. It has 20% damage to targets out of cover. And the talents this one has is brutal, competent, and you already know the third talent, pecan. Also here we have a military Scar H with a gear score of 278. It has 172 headshot damage, and this particular Scar has competent, vicious, and unforgiving. Also here we have a prototype electronics mod with 266 electronics, and the attributes it has is 3,190 skill power. Also here we have an extended magazine with 118.50% magazine size, 3% crit hit chance, and 4% reload speed. I think this is a nice roll. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to the Cavern. And here the gear vendor has a prototype stamina mod with 257 stamina and 2.50% exotic damage resilience if you're looking to reduce that bleed from those preds out here. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to Camp Clinton. And here the special equipment vendor has a Liberator with a gear score of 263. It has 21% enemy armor damage, and the talents it has is skilled, focused, and competent. Also here we have another pecan with a gear score of 280. It has 21% damage to targets out of cover, and the talents it has is accurate, unforgiving, and then the third talent, pecan. Also here we have a tactical SASG 12K with a gear score of 269. It has 333.50% stagger, and the talents it has is meticulous, ferocious, and self-preserved. Also here we have a military RPK 74M with a gear score of 276. It has 20% damage to targets out of cover, and the talents this has is brutal, adept, and unforgiving. Also here we have an operator's vest with the gear score of 262. It has 12 armor. It's roll for electronics 1151, and the attributes it has is enemy armor damage, skill haste, and increased kill XP. Also here we have a tactical pack with the talent relentless on there with the gear score of 270. It has 1334 armor. It's roll for firearms 1114, and the attributes it has is health and bleed resistance. Also here we got a vertical grip with 48% optimal range, 2% accuracy, and 5% reload speed. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to Dante's Run. And here the gear vendor has a Spec Ops pack with the talent specialized on it. It has a gear score of 271. The armor is 1209. It's roll for stamina, 1255. And the attributes it has is crit hit damage and disrupt resistance. And then also here we have a prototype performance mod with 7.50% support station duration. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to Autumn's Hope. Here the gear vendor has a prototype firearms mod with 212 firearms and 3% damage to elites. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to the Ward. And here the gear vendor has a prototype performance mod with 7.50% turret health. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to the Southpaw. And here the gear vendor has a tactical mask with the talent Tenacious on it. It has a gear score of 270. The armor is 949. It has 1165 firearms. And the attributes it has is crit hit chance and burn resistance. And also here we have a prototype performance mod with 7.50% turret duration. For our next gear item, is going to head over to the Grindhouse. And here the weapons vendor has the Omega Rifle Suppressor Tan with 17% headshot damage, 2.50% crit hit chance, and 2.50% stability. For our next gear item, is going to head over to the Firewall. And here the gear vendor has a prototype stamina mod with 263 stamina, and it has 3,136 health. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to West 31st Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And here the Dark Zone vendor has a Spec Ops mask with the talent refreshed on there. It has a gear score of 272. It has 960 armor. The firearms is 1220. And the attributes it has is exotic damage, resilience, and disoriented resistance. And then also here we have a prototype performance mod with 6% first aid ally heal. I've been looking for these, and then as a matter of fact, I'm going to cash out 4 of them right now for my healer builds. And then also here we got another heavy magazine spring with 4% crit hit damage, 4.50% reload speed, and 10.90% rate of fire. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to West 46th Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. Here the Dark Zone vendor has another Spec Ops mask with the talent Tenacious on it. We got another one here. This particular one has a gear score of 280. The armor is 976. It's roll for stamina 1231. And the attributes it has is enemy armor damage and damage to elites. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to East 64th Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And here the Dark Zone gear mod vendor has a prototype performance mod with 3.50% sticky bomb damage. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to East 58th Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And here the Dark Zone gear vendor has a operator mask with the talent refreshed on it. It has a gear score of 270. The armor is 892. It's roll for firearms 1203. And the attributes it has is 3 crit hit chance and increased kill XP. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to Park Ave checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And here the Dark Zone weapons vendor has a MP7 if you love to run this weapon still. It has a gear score of 259. It has 19.50% crit hit chance. And the talents it has is fierce, competent, and responsive. And then also here we got a classic AK-47 with a gear score of 263. It has 21% enemy armor damage. And the talents it has is intense, sustained, and vicious. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to East 53rd Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And here the Dark Zone vendor has a tactical mask with the talent Tenacious on it. It has a gear score of 266. It has 895 armor. Its roll for electronics 1145. And the attributes it has is enemy armor damage and damage to elites. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to East 42nd Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. In here, the Dark Zone vendor has a prototype performance mod with 4% turret damage. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to East 31st Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And here, the Dark Zone vendor has a prototype electronics mod with 261 electronics and 2.50% exotic damage resilience. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to the 5th Ave checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And here, the Dark Zone vendor has a custom P416 G3 with a gear score of 267. It has 22% enemy armor damage, and the talents it has is Unforgiven, Vicious, and Determined. And also here we have a prototype firearms mod with 263 firearms and 3061 skill power. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to DZ2 safe room. And here, the Dark Zone gear vendor has an operator mask with the talent refreshed on it. It has a gear score of 269. It has 872 armor. Its roll for electronics 1262. And the attributes it has is health on kill and damage to elites. Also here, we got a operator vest with the talent rapid on there. It has a gear score of 269. It has 1761 armor. And its roll for electronics 1253. And the attributes it has is health, enemy armor damage, and ammo capacity. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to DZ3 safe room. And here the Dark Zone weapons vendor has a enhanced AUG A3P with a gear score of 266. It has 22.50% crit hit chance. And the talents it has is brutal, dominant, and fierce. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to DZ5 safe room. In here, the Dark Zone weapon mod vendor has a Tyrant Suppressor with 7.50% crit hit chance, 5% optimal range, and 2.50% stability. Also here we got a small red grip with 17% crit hit damage, 4.50% optimal range, and 4.50% reload speed. And then also here he has a pro red dot sight with 17% crit hit damage, 5.50% headshot damage, and 5% optimal range. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to DZ8 safe room. In here, the Dark Zone gear vendor has a Spec Ops mask with the talent refreshed on it with a gear score of 277. The armor is 961. Its roll for stamina 1261. And the attributes it has is crit hit chance and damage to elites. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to DZ9 safe room. In here, the Dark Zone weapon mod vendor has a heavy magazine spring with 4.50% reload speed, 12% magazine size, and 10.80% rate of fire. And also here we have a reflex sight with 7.50% crit hit chance, 4% optimal range, and 5.50% headshot damage. Alright everybody, that's it for our Tom Clancy's The Division vendor reset video for August 16th, 2019. Hope everybody who tunes into it finds them something that they need. Shoot me any comments and let me know what's good. I appreciate that. Drop a like if you hadn't. Don't forget to sub if you hadn't. I appreciate that support. I want I want to mention too that I also stream on Twitch sometimes under the same name, Sensational Sincere. Come through, check me out, hit your boy up with a follow if you haven't. I appreciate that support too. And I will see y'all with the next vendor reset video, everybody. Take care, peace.